Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. In the cramped kitchen of our small suburban home, the realization hit me like a bolt of lightning: no salt. "Lena, where did we put the salt?" I yelled, rifling through the pantry. "It should be on the second shelf," came the distant reply from the living room, mingled with the faint sounds of a TV drama. But it wasn't there. No backups in the usual spots either. Great. A quick glance at the boiling pot on the stove, and I knew I had to act fast. "I'll pop over to Jerry's," I called out to Lena, who only hummed in response, her eyes glued to her show. Grabbing my keys, I pat my pockets for my phone. Nothing. It must be upstairs, but no time for a thorough search. Lena's phone was on the charger in the kitchen. "Borrowing your phone?" I shouted, not waiting for an objection that wouldn't come. Her phone was newer, sleeker than mine, but as I stepped out into the crisp afternoon air, a nagging thought stopped me. I didn't know her passcode. I tried the usual: her birthday, our anniversary. No luck. Locked out. I pocketed the useless device anyway and hurried over to Jerry's place. Jerry's door swung open on the first knock. His face, usually open and friendly, seemed closed off today, his eyes distracted as he greeted me. "Hey, Tom, everything all right?" "Ran out of salt," I said with a sheepish grin. "Mind sparing some?" "Sure, come on in." He turned, walking back into his kitchen, but not before I caught him pocketing his phone, his thumb lingering over the screen. We stood in his kitchen, a mirror image of my own, as he rummaged through his cabinet. "Here you go," he said, handing me a half-full salt shaker. His phone buzzed. I saw his jaw tighten as he glanced at the screen and then quickly away. "You okay, man?" I asked, curious despite myself. Jerry shrugged, a brittle smile on his face. "Yeah, just family stuff." The atmosphere thickened with unspoken words as he seemed to consider his next move. Then, decisively, he tapped his phone, his thumb finally pressing down. Almost instantly, Lena's phone in my pocket vibrated. Reflexively, I pulled it out, the screen lighting up with one word: beloved. My heart stopped. I stared at the phone, then at Jerry, whose expression crumpled into a mix of apology and resignation. The silence was deafening. My mind raced, connecting dots with a speed and clarity I wished I didn't possess. Lena. Jerry. This phone. All the late nights she said she was at her sister's. The puzzle pieces fit together with sickening accuracy. Jerry cleared his throat. "Tom, How long?" My voice was a whisper, hoarse with betrayal. "It's not what you think," he started, but the cliché was a poor bandage over a gaping wound. The pot on the stove, the missing salt, all trivial now. A storm brewed within me, dark and vengeful. I needed to act, to reclaim some semblance of control. "I need to go," I muttered, not trusting myself to stay calm. Back home, the normalcy of the scene was surreal. Lena, laughing at something on TV, unaware of the storm coming her way. I clenched the salt shaker, a symbol of a mundane life that no longer existed. "Everything okay?" she asked, finally looking up as I entered. Everything was far from okay. The seeds of revenge began to sprout in the fertile soil of my wrath. I needed a plan, a way to turn this betrayal back on itself. But first, I needed the truth, from her, in her words. "Lena, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the tempest inside. She muted the TV, her smile fading into confusion as she saw my face. "What's wrong, Tom?" Oh, she'd know soon enough. As for revenge, it would be sweet, and it would be thorough. But first, the confrontation. The beginning of her unraveling. Lena's eyes widened as I approached, the air heavy with the brewing storm. I tossed Lena's phone onto the couch beside her, the screen still alight with the damning message. "Explain this," I demanded, my voice barely containing the tremor of anger. She glanced at the phone, her face draining of color. "Tom, No lies, Lena." I interrupted, stepping closer. The atmosphere was electric, charged with betrayal and hurt. She sighed, a deep, resigned breath, her eyes not meeting mine. "It's not been working, for a long time," she whispered, her voice trembling. "That's no excuse to," I started, but a knock at the door cut me off. Frustrated, I swung it open to find our neighbor from 2 doors down, Ellen, her eyes curious and concerned. "Is everything okay?" I heard shouting, Ellen said, peeking inside. "Not a good time, Ellen," I muttered, but she brushed past me. "Lena, honey, are you all right?" Ellen's voice was soothing, but her presence was like salt on an open wound. Lena nodded weakly, standing up. "We're just having a discussion, Ellen." "Thanks." Ellen's gaze shifted between us, sensing the tension. "If you need anything, Lena, I'm here," she offered, her concern palpable. As Ellen left, the momentary distraction gave Lena courage. "Tom, I know this looks bad, but Jerry and it started as friendship. It just happened." "Friendship?" I scoffed, disbelief and pain mingling in my voice. There was a pause, heavy and uncomfortable. "I was going to tell you," Lena continued, her voice softening, pleading for understanding. "And when was that?" "When you were done with him." I shot back, unable to keep the bitterness from my tone. She recoiled as if slapped. The room filled with a stifling silence that seemed to scream louder than any words we had exchanged. That night, sleep was elusive. My mind raced with plans of revenge, not just against Lena but Jerry as well. By morning, I had decided. I would hit them where it hurt most. Their reputations, their peace of mind. Morning brought a false sense of normalcy. I headed out early, under the guise of clearing my head. My first stop was at Ellen's. Despite the intrusion last night, she could be an ally, or at least a source of information. Ellen greeted me with a cautious smile as I explained my visit. "I need to know, Ellen. Have you noticed anything unusual about Lena and Jerry?" I asked, my voice low. Ellen hesitated, then sighed. "I've seen them together a few times, looking too close. I thought maybe it was nothing, but..." "Thank you, Ellen," I said, my suspicions confirmed. Now, with a witness, my next steps solidified in my mind. The confrontation had set things in motion, but the true game was just beginning. Revenge would be meticulous and devastating. As I walked back home, the plan took shape, each step a move towards retribution. Lena and Jerry would learn the cost of deception, and I would make sure the price was steep. As the early morning sun cast a gentle glow over the quiet street, I walked with purpose towards Jerry's house. The plan was clear in my mind, each step meticulously crafted to expose the deceit that had shattered my trust. I knocked on Jerry's door, my heart pounding not from fear but from a cold resolve. He answered, his face a mask of caution upon seeing me. "Tom, this isn't a good time." "It's never a good time for truth, is it, Jerry?" I pushed past him into the living room, where a photo of him and his wife hung, mocking me with its display of false happiness. Jerry closed the door with a sigh, turning to face me. "Look, I know you're angry." "Angry doesn't begin to cover it," I cut him off. "But I'm not here to make a scene. I'm here to make a deal." "A deal?" Jerry furrowed his brow, confusion mingling with curiosity. "Yes. You're going to help me expose a cheater." My words were ice, and I enjoyed the flicker of panic in his eyes. "You mean Lena?" he asked, voice low. "No, Jerry. Not just Lena. I paused, letting the implication sink in. I mean exposing all cheaters. In public. Starting with a confession from you. Jerry paled, taking a step back. You can't be serious. My wife, she'll leave me. Consider it penance. Or would you rather I go straight to her with everything? I held his gaze, unblinking, until he nodded slowly. Fine. What do you need me to do? Write it down. Everything. How it started, when, where. Details, Jerry. I want details. I handed him a notebook and a pen, my tools of retribution. As Jerry scribbled, his hands shaking, I thought about the next phase. Ellen's role was crucial. Her testimony would lend credence to the story, making it more than just a jilted husband's accusations. Leaving Jerry to his task, I visited Ellen once more. She greeted me with a wary smile, sensing the storm brewing. Tom, what's going on? I need your help, Ellen, I said, getting straight to the point. You've seen them together. I need you to be a witness when I expose them. Ellen bit her lip, her hesitation clear. Tom, this is serious. It could destroy their lives. They didn't think about mine when they chose to betray me, I replied sharply. Ellen nodded slowly, her agreement a silent testament to the gravity of the situation. With Jerry's written confession and Ellen's agreement to support my claims, the stage was set. The community needed to know the truth about the facades people like Jerry and Lena maintained. My final stop was the local community center, where I booked a room for a neighborhood meeting scheduled for the next evening. The announcement was vague, promising a discussion on community integrity and trust. That night, as I lay in bed, the plan replayed in my mind. Tomorrow, the truth would come to light, and with it, a form of justice. Whether it was the right kind of justice didn't matter. In my heart, the burn of betrayal demanded a spectacle, and I was ready to deliver it. The consequences would ripple out, but the first cracks had already been made. Tomorrow, they would shatter. The community center buzzes with curiosity as neighbors fill the room, chatting in hushed tones about the mysterious meeting. I stand at the front, my heart pounding, a calm facade masking the turmoil within. Ellen stands beside me, her face set in a determined expression. Jerry is off to the side, clutching his written confession like a lifeline. As the last few people trickle in, I step forward, clearing my throat to draw attention. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, I begin, my voice steady despite the tension. Tonight's meeting is about integrity and trust within our community. The murmur of voices dies down, and all eyes are on me. I glance at Jerry, who nods almost imperceptibly, his face pale. We all value honesty and trust in our relationships, but sometimes, that trust is betrayed in the worst possible ways, I continue, feeling the weight of each word. I have something to share, something that affects not just me but many of us here. A collective intake of breath ripples through the crowd as I hold up Jerry's confession. This is a written confession from someone in this room, admitting to an affair. I won't name names, but the details are here for anyone to see. The room explodes into shocked whispers, eyes darting between me, Jerry, and the others. I wait for the noise to die down before speaking again. This isn't just about one affair. It's about the lies we tell and the secrets we keep, I say, my voice rising with emotion. It's time for the truth to come out. Jerry steps forward, his hands trembling as he holds the confession out. I wrote this. I had an affair with Lena, he says, his voice barely audible over the gasps and murmurs. Ellen steps forward next, her face resolute. I can confirm that I saw them together, too close for just neighbors, she adds, her voice strong and clear. As the room erupts into chaos again, a familiar voice cuts through the noise. Enough. Lena steps forward from the back, her face flushed with anger and something else, defiance. You think this is about me and Jerry? She says, her voice shaking. There's more to this story, Tom. More than you know. I glare at her, not understanding. What are you talking about? Tom, you're not the only one who's been betrayed, Lena says, her eyes hard. You see, Jerry wasn't the only one I was seeing. The room falls silent, everyone hanging on her words. I found out about your affair months ago, Lena continues, her voice bitter. Your little trysts with Ellen. My stomach drops. The room spins, and I glance at Ellen, whose face has gone ghostly white. Lena, that's not, Ellen starts, but Lena cuts her off. Don't deny it, Ellen. I have the messages, Lena says, pulling out her phone and waving it. I was hurt, devastated. I turned to Jerry because he was there. He was a friend, a comfort. The air is thick with shock and disbelief. I stare at Lena, my anger dissipating into confusion and guilt. Lena, I. Save it, Tom, she snaps, her eyes flashing. We're both guilty. We both made mistakes. But don't you dare stand there and pretend you're some innocent victim. Jerry looks at me, then at Lena, his face a mask of regret. I didn't know, he whispers, but Lena ignores him. Ellen steps forward, her voice trembling. Lena, I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake. Lena laughs, a harsh, bitter sound. Mistakes. We all made mistakes. The room is silent, the weight of our collective sins pressing down on us. I look around, seeing the judgment in our neighbors' eyes, the pity, the anger. My plan for revenge has backfired spectacularly, revealing not just their sins, but mine as well. I take a deep breath, my mind racing. Lena, you're right. We all made mistakes, I say, my voice breaking. I wanted to hurt you, to make you pay for what you did. But in the end, I only hurt myself and everyone else. Lena's eyes soften slightly, and she nods. We both need to move on, Tom. To find a way to heal. The room remains silent as the weight of the revelation sinks in. There's no more room for anger, only a deep, pervasive sadness. The meeting ends abruptly, people leaving in hushed conversations, their eyes avoiding mine. I walk home alone, the night air cold against my skin. Inside, the house feels empty, a stark reminder of the life I once had. Lena's gone by the time I get back, her things packed in the closet half empty. I sit down, staring at the blank wall, feeling the enormity of what's happened. In my quest for revenge, I've lost everything. Lena, Jerry, even Ellen, our lives shattered by lies and betrayals. The truth is out, but it hasn't set us free. It's left us broken, with pieces too jagged to fit back together. In the end, the only thing I have left is the hope that maybe, someday, we can all find a way to heal from the wounds we've inflicted on each other.